Hey y'all, it's been a minute. I just want to drop in now that for those of you that are following me, you know that I've had quite the tumultuous situation with my ex-wife. But we finally had a day in court to which she did not show up. So very unsatisfying for me, if I'm to be honest, because I was looking forward to having somebody else validate my feelings a little bit. Would have been nice, meaning the judge, because I have, all the backup and whatnot. The interesting thing is that it's got me thinking again about, I have been quiet on here because behind the scenes, there's been some action on like my YouTube and things like that. So I haven't, it was affecting, now that I'm a creator, it was affecting my income on YouTube. So I had to make a separate channel for Christrology. So for those of you who don't know, Christrology is blowing up over there. So go check that out. That's why I haven't been on here as much either. But I do, now that the case is over, and I want to repost this video because it is important that there is some sort of voice out there for people who are masculine of center, who have been abused or in abusive situations, and how that goes along with gender identity. Because my ex-wife was quite feminine, and I love feminine women. I'm all about it. And I know that feminine women have this battle of like, hey, I'm gay. Like, I know that's a battle for them. And I absolutely appreciate that. However, in the world of like society and how we were raised, people give masculine of center a negative connotation, toxic masculinity. And in fact, like that's kind of why almost where Christrology is my twist, because it talks about like Mars is male aggression, and Venus is light and fluffy love. Women, right? And it's that's not fair, because men can be light and fluffy, women can be hard and aggressive, and any non-binary or genders in between there. And I think it's important that there's a lot of abuse out there in general, and I think that term is thrown around pretty lightly, unfortunately. And it shouldn't be, because there's a major issue with abuse just kind of casually being tossed out there and people being like, well, I believe her. I'm all for I believe her. But there is, coming from a different perspective where people automatically don't believe you because of how you look, that's difficult. Because if I'm standing next to my ultra feminine ex-wife and I'm saying she abused me, and she's saying she abused me, the subconscious is going to say I'm the abuser because I represent toxic masculinity. So the fact that my video was reported to YouTube, and the fact that it was then removed even after I changed it to private, speaks a lot to the fact that masculine of center voices are being silenced. My abuse and what the abuse that happened to me doesn't matter. That's what that says. And so if it's saying that the abuse that happened to me doesn't matter, there's no voice for that. Even other creators talk about how toxic masculinity is within the masculine community, in all gay communities. You're right. It's not that it doesn't exist. That's the point. There's a lot of prejudice associated with that. But just because a chick is feminine doesn't mean she's straight either. Right? So there's these it's like we pick and choose as a society, and based upon how we were raised, where we're going to put our trust in somebody. And, women, I want to say that with quotes, but more feminine people, actually, I should say, are going to come off as more believable when it comes to accusations of anything. And regardless of the fact that my ex-wife has zero receipts for any of this, because I did not do anything to her, and I have medical reports, images of injuries, just receipts from damages, pictures of things. Like, it sucks that even though I have that, all she has to do is say that person abused me, and everybody believes that. And to have that kind of power is pretty interesting. Like, I keep getting banned from like Tinder, and I'm banned from Lex, and I've been using Lex since before half of the people that are on there were even born. Not Lex, but back when it was on our backs. I had a subscription to that. You probably don't even know what that is. And then when it was personals on here, it's like, there's this thing about sensitivity and how sensitivity is supposed to trump logic, and that doesn't make any sense. Because as a victim myself, I have no problem saying to people like, hey, this is my experience with this person. It might not be your experience, but heads up, and then letting that go. Versus people saying like, hey, I had a certain kind of experience, and then compounding that and adding to that without having any information. That's really frustrating because, again, just being able to say, oh, believe me, must be nice. But when I tell you that this person verbally, mentally, and physically abused me, I'm being general. Because this person probably almost killed me. I don't even know how many times, but chased me with a knife, almost ran me over with a car at least 3 times, ran a vehicle into the house, pulled the steering wheel while I was driving, several things like that. But again, all she has to say is what? By the way, after our divorce, which I feel like I had to buy her out of our divorce, she never worked the entire time. I even put her through aesthetics school, and she also didn't do anything with that. Apparently, the latest job that she had was being a receptionist at a domestic violence shelter. That's, how does that look? I also found out that she has a child, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about that and feel guilty about the fact that this person has a child and is more than likely abusive to that child. But again, that was my experience, and maybe she's in a better place now, and maybe it was just my energy that brought that out in her. So anyway, I just think that it's important for everybody to understand that labels and the toxic traits that come with labels is the problem, not the labels themselves. Labels can be useful in certain aspects to describe things, but they don't have to be a toxic code for anything. Meaning, as an example, if you want to call yourself a lesbian, because that's how you identify, even if you like non-binary, or even if you like people who are not cisgendered men, but not cisgendered men. So you can call yourself that. Just like if you want to be feminine and masculine, you want to wear a fluffy, flurry blouse thing. I don't know I'm being very stereotypical here, but just to make a point. This is what I mean. I'm using it as a descriptor, not as a toxic thing. So like, say you want to wear something feminine, what would be considered feminine as a top with a masculine tuxedo blazer. Go for it. Like, that's what I want for this community and the alphabet spectrum in general. Like, let's just be more accepting of each other, and let's work on helping each other. Like, I don't want you to cancel my ex-wife. I would love for her to get any kind of help that she can be offered. Abso-fucking-lutely. Just like I would support anybody any of the people who have abused me in my past, or anybody who might feel as though I have wronged them in any way, that's absolutely a possibility, and I am open to having discussions about that. The thing about discussions is that it is actually talking about facts, in my opinion. So if you're willing to come to the table and have a discussion, totally down for that. Like, let's talk about it. But if you're just going to be accusational or point fingers, then that is not welcome here. I would think you to go somewhere else. And that's really easy. And that, you just don't have to follow me. And that's how I feel about any of the social media stuff. If I'm not for you, just keep moving. You don't need to report me because you don't like me, or because you think that you've heard things about me, therefore you're going to protect people. From what? From who? You don't even know the story. Then you know how I know you don't know the story? Because there isn't one. There are stories. I take that back, because people have their stories. So, yeah, anyway. So, everybody take care. I hope everybody's doing well. Just take care of each other and try not to let that binary or orientation affect your decisions on who you trust and how you feel about relationships, and not just romantic ones, but family and all of that as well. So anyway, take care, everybody. Cheers.